I don't know what it is. Okay, we're recording. Who's that? Mom? Oh, are you leaving? Okay, I'll be done in 10 minutes. Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, we're off to a rolling start already. That is the first big hurdle in Zoom.
Right?
We've got video, we've got sound. Okay, and we're kicking it. Literally. Okay, so this is the first one I've done of these. I'm putting, okay, now I'm not entirely sure if it just records like what I see, so I'm just gonna leave me in the small box and hopefully to record that way. Okay, so I'm gonna cut it down and then just to put out the 10 minutes in the middle. And I'm gonna do the questions basically in the order that I sent them to you.
Okay.
But that I wanted to start with an opportunity for you to just say, first of all, who you are, what your title is, and I'll ask you, but then also what your platform is.
Okay.
Okay, sound good?
All right. Yep.
Okay, all right. Hi, I am Jessica Brown. I am the new Mrs. Colorado Universal 2021. This is my first official appearance, and this is my brand new Powerhouse Paper Dolls interview series, where I talk with women who inspire oh shoot, I forgot my other word. Okay,
It'll be the
that's
bloopers.
the first one. See, this is why we're not doing it live.
Bloopers.
What was the word I've been using all morning? I've said it like 10 times. Influence and inspire. Okay, we're gonna start over.
Take two.
All right, so I start talking and then I'll introduce you. Okay,
Okay.
ready? 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Jessica Brown. I'm the new Mrs. Colorado Universal 2021. I am newly crowned, and this is my first official appearance. This is my new interview series called Powerhouse Paper Dolls, where I interview women who have influenced and inspired me, and I link the interviews in ways that they show commonalities between them and the next woman, linking each interview with something they have in common. My very first guest is the woman at the top of the food chain in my system, Mrs. Christy Hinnant. This is Mrs. Universal. Christy, thank you so much for coming and being part of my series.
Absolutely. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm really excited to be doing this finally. I thought of this months ago because, you know, having a title during COVID we're really limited to what we can do. And I thought, what can I do from my living room? And I thought right now, the root of everything, how we're going to get through the pandemic and, the civil movement, and it's all going to come down to connecting to one another. So the whole point of this series is to demonstrate the connection between us all. So to talk about what inspires each of us, and then to link it to other women so that we can see the things that we all have in common. So this system that we're both part of is platform-based. And for those of you who don't know, platform is kind of your thesis statement. So it's not the only thing that you do, but it's what you do the most. It's the thing that really represents what you're passionate about. And in this system, it's really important. We get to present on it heavily in an interview. You can even present a video or a PowerPoint, and it's really a special part of the pageant for me. And so I really wanted to start there with Christy, and I wanted to find out what your platform is. What's important to you?
My platform has always been sexual assault awareness. And while I was the reigning Mrs. North Carolina last year, I was in the process of starting a nonprofit. And I'm a sexual assault survivor myself. So I had always had a pull to just gravitate towards that. And as Mrs. North Carolina last year, I strongly advocated I'm a voice for others as they struggle through their healing process. And after being crowned Mrs. Universal, my nonprofit got granted. So now we have a nonprofit, and it's Voices Against Sexual Assault. So I continue to be a voice for survivors and just continue to advocate and just change the system as much as we can.
So what do you do with your nonprofit?
We have bi-weekly support groups for victims in our area because there wasn't a support group, and it is so needed. And then we also have quarterly retreats where victims could come in, and we do yoga, we do mindful activities, we do art therapy, there's going to be self-defense. So there's a lot. It's a weekend long retreat, and they just kind of start their healing process, and it's a safe place for them just to start working through the trauma that they've been through.
I love that. I'd love to come teach dance for your retreat.
Absolutely.
Let me know.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Can you tell me what Denim Day is?
Denim Day. So several years ago in Europe, a woman got sexually assaulted. She got raped. And when it got taken to court, it got thrown out because they said that she couldn't have been raped because her jeans were too tight. And you see that a lot in court. I've been a victim advocate, and I've gone to court with victims just to be their moral support. And unfortunately, they still, display victims' clothing, and whether it's a swimsuit that they're wearing or a pair of shorts or a dress, and they literally display it in the courtroom and say, well, do you see these underwear weren't stretched, or they weren't ripped, or there's no way that victim could have been raped. So that's kind of where Denim Day began, because from that case in Italy, that they just pretty much threw out that victim's case because her jeans were too tight.
Wow. I'm glad I asked, because I saw that, and I thought that was a really interesting way to call attention to the cause. So that's very interesting. So I'd like to know, you're obviously a woman who inspires other women. So I want to know who inspires the woman who inspires other women. Who inspired you?
It all started just from within the house, home. My mom is a single mother, and I grew up just watching her. She's always been a hard worker, and we grew up living with my grandparents. So then there was also my grandmother. So my mom got it from my grandmother, and they're just very strong, independent women. And then they instilled that in me. And, I believe that children are sponges, and everything that we teach them within the home, they take outside. And that's where my inspiration started, just from a young age, just watching the women in my house just constantly work and persevere, and that grit and determination. And that's who I inspire, is just continue to be a role model for my boys and for other women. And moving forward, just now with this title, you just want to continue to be an inspiration for others. And as you continue to grow, you see other women in history, and, those role models, there's always a commonality amongst them. they never give up no matter what kind of adversity is thrown their way. And I think as little girls, you know, that inspiration a lot of times starts within the house.
So what is something that your mother has taught you or said to you that has really stuck with you?
My mom always, she would take me to volunteer, or I remember always just every year she would make me go through my toys, or, you know, say, all right, you know, there's a lot of children that are less fortunate than you. Or we would go to the grocery store and just buy bags of groceries and then donate them to the pantry. And this was common for us. We would take clothes to Goodwill. It wasn't just once in a blue moon. It was just very common growing up. And I've instilled that in my boys. I remember last year we had a hurricane hit North Carolina, and we were at a collection point for food and stuff, and I had an older lady. I had both of my boys. They were 5 and 2 at the last year, and she says, do you bring your boys to all these things? And I said, the majority of times I have appearance, I do bring them. She says, why do you do that? And I said, because this is good for them. And my 5-year-old was putting canned goods in bags, and he was giving them to people. And I always tell them, you know, there's children that are less fortunate than you. You guys are very lucky. Not everyone has a mommy and a daddy, or not everyone has the toys that you do. Or I've taken the boys, you know, when there's Toys for Tots at the Marine Corps runs, and I'll be like, all right, we have $100. Like, these toys aren't for you. You guys pick out. And it's still just giving back, but also education, because I remember my oldest son started picking out bigger toys, and then he realized, oh, well, Mom, if I pick smaller toys, well, not necessarily smaller toys, but toys that cost less, he could pick out a greater quantity of toys. And he's like, now more kids will have toys. So it's just teaching them, and what my mom instilled in me, now I'm instilling in my kids.
You know, I started doing, when my husband came into the picture, we started cooking and taking things down to the homeless shelters. And as you're saying this, I'm thinking of all the appearances that I've done with my kids. And I've always kind of bemoaned that my kids wouldn't grow up in my dance studio, you know, that I wanted them they took a couple classes, but I pictured them being studio rats, right? I wanted them to be in the studio all the time and you know, learn what I had to teach. But sitting here listening to you talk, I realized that they didn't grow up in the studio. They grew up next to my titles, that they have been at my side in all this stuff. And I'm very pleased that they ended up being crown rats.
Yes.
So looking back at the way that you grew up, you obviously have been giving from a really young age. But is there something that that maybe you regret from a younger age as you look at your story?
I've always believed that you don't regret anything in life, but now, because all your decisions make you who you are. But something that I held on to, so like I mentioned, I am a sexual assault survivor. I got sexually assaulted in 2005, and I held on to that secret until 2012, until I told my mom. And it wasn't until last year, 2019, when I told the rest of my family. So I've always believed that I don't believe in regrets, but if there's one thing that I could have done differently was told them from the beginning, because that was a big weight that got lifted off my shoulders when I finally told them. Because throughout the years, I wouldn't have felt so alone. And, you know, you think that, goodness, like, they're not going to understand, or they're going to take this so differently. And then when you finally tell them just the immense support that I received from them, you know, you think, oh, I could have told them this 15 years ago, you know?
Yeah.
So my healing process, just knowing that their support would have been there 10, 15 years ago, would have been greatly different. So I do wish that I would have told them a lot sooner.
Well, and that's, I think, really the key, is because I do always follow that up with the question, like, well, what would you change, you know? And so often there's, because I love seeing where it goes with that, you know? And I think that since you are an advocate, that you have that experience and you can guide people into perhaps talking about it a little bit earlier. I have always looked at regret kind of as the glass is half empty or half full, where it is, in my opinion, kind of dependent on, well, how did the glass start? Like, did you just fill it up halfway, then it's half full, or was it full and you drank it half down, it's half empty, you know? And I feel like that's how you feel about regret too, you know? Like if I'm feeling good about my life, how can I regret any step that got me there? Because it was all part of the tapestry that got me to this place that I so appreciate. But conversely, like if I'm not happy where I am, man, I regret every cobbled stone of that road, you know? So it's just interesting that when you look at your story of regret, that it's that you had access to love and support far earlier.
Yeah.
Thor, you're not coming in. This isn't your interview. He's the drama queen of the house. There is a dog next to me that my son didn't want to move for the interview, so she's under this pillow. And I did a pin curl corner before the interview where I showed the dog, and I said, that's whatever happens today is going to end up being tradition for all of the interviews. So now there's going to be a hidden dog somewhere. So apparently the barking dog today is going home also.
Okay.
So a little more lighthearted. As Mrs. Universal, have you traveled with your title? I know that COVID kind of hit, but.
Yeah, COVID definitely threw, a wrench into some plans, and a lot of things so many plans got canceled. We were scheduled to go to Ecuador, and a week before we flew out, that got canceled. And I was going to go to Africa, and that got canceled. In December, we did go to Bali. We were there for about 10 days, and that was beyond spectacular.
Is that the floating breakfast?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And that is where Mrs. Universal is going to be held in June next year.
Yes. So if you could travel anywhere, where would you go?
I've traveled a lot. I was in the military for 8 years, and my first duty station was in Germany. So while I was in Germany, I traveled all through Europe. I just love traveling and learning about different people, the different cultures that there are and how people live, and foods. And it's just something that I think is there's just a rich tradition and just something rich about learning how different parts of the world live. And I've always told my husband, once the boys are older and, they're in high school, like we're just going to take one of those like year-long cruises and just travel the entire world. But we've always believed in every year we take 2 trips, one with the family, with us and the boys, and then one with him and I. And we've been doing that since we got married, and we just always travel to someplace new. So I am a big traveler. Like I just love traveling everywhere.
I love that. I really love that. My whole goal for where my career is going to end up is to travel the world, learning cultural dances around the world, and doing a video series. Like here is Sassy Fit live from India, and just teaching my students about the world through dance, like doing this travel video series, but through dance. And I love that connection to the culture through the world. So, but you didn't answer. Where's the one place you'd go?
Bora Bora or Ireland are at the top of our bucket list.
Oh, I definitely approve. Bora Bora. That's one of those places that I don't know if it's real. It might be one of those computer generated images to keep our brains working in the matrix. It just seems way too perfect, but boy, I hope it's there. Like Bora Bora and Tahiti, it's so idyllic.
Gorgeous.
I would really like to get there. I would like to get there. I would like to know, what was your last selfless act?
So actually this morning, my boys, we did a couple of errands, and every time we're out and about, they love getting donuts. So while we were in the drive-thru getting donuts, we paid for the vehicle behind us. It's just little things. I just believe in giving back. It doesn't hurt, to pay for a cup of coffee, $5, $10, whatever it is, and just putting a smile on someone's face. It's too easy. And right now, the world that we're living in is just so chaotic and so crazy, and it's just filled with so much hate and divide. So if you could do something as small as, yeah, I'll just pay for the car behind me, why not?
Yep. Random act of kindness goes a long way.
Yep, it
So what
does.
was the last kind thing that was done for you?
So some might say this was done for my son, but since it is my little boy, it's
That
kind of a
definitely
part for
counts.
me.
Yeah.
He has this little stuffed bunny that I got him for his first Easter, and he's 6 now. So this poor thing is worn down and is just loved beyond imaginable. And so I've been looking around and just asking, and I've even Googled companies that kind of refurbish stuffed animals, but they all take 2 weeks to turn around and refluff them. And so I was talking to a friend last week, and she messaged me last night, and she said, hey, I talked to a mutual friend of ours, and they said that they could go ahead and just restuff the bunny. So this morning I actually met with the other friend, and in less than 20 minutes they refluffed the bunny. And so now Bunny has gained like 20 pounds, and he's all refluffed again. So
nice. Oh, and I'll bet your kid is just so happy. And anybody who makes our kids happy makes us happy.
Absolutely.
That's definitely something that's done for you. So ultimately, when this is all said and done, what do you hope your legacy is? What do you want to leave behind?
Other than just being, as a mother, you just always want to be an amazing role model for your kids, and just raise godly men into this world, and good examples and good husbands for their future wives. Other than that, and that being cliche, the legacy that I want to leave behind is just to change the way that sexual assault and the stigma behind it is. You look at the justice system, and so many cases get thrown out, and victims are constantly getting re-victimized. And the backlog of rape kits sitting on shelves there's 200,000 untested rape kits in the US right now that are just sitting on shelves, and that is unacceptable. So my legacy is just to change how the stigma behind sexual assault, for victims to not feel that if they share their story that they're going to be re-victimized, that if they share their story that they are going to be believed, instead of, did that really happen? We are more capable and more likely to believe the rapist than to believe a rape victim, and that is sad. So that's the legacy that I want to leave behind, because I strongly believe that every sexual assault victim, I believe that there's power in their story, and by sharing their story, they can create a ripple effect. So I just want to continue to be a voice for them, and to encourage them to share their story.
That's great. That's really great. Thank you so much for speaking with me. I am so glad to know you. I'm so glad that you are in my life, and these are some big shoes to fill and follow. So I'm really I'm excited that you were my first interview.
Of course.
I'm so excited. Oh, yeah, you do have it. I was hoping you would. Oh my goodness. Oh, and there's the screenshot. I'm gonna take a little picture. Can I reach around the back? Oh, is this side now? There you go. Oh, that's perfect. Oh, so pretty. Con keeps going on and on about the crown. He's like, all of your crowns, they're just, I don't know, interchangeable. It's like, yeah, thanks.
Not this one.
Like, this one is like, I have never seen anything like it. And he loves it. And I love that he's excited, I love that my family is on board and everybody's behind it. And I feel like I'm in the right place for the right reasons. And I love this project because connecting the dots between us all on things that matter to each of us. I'm really excited to see where this goes. And since you're my first dot, I kind of, at this point, I'm just going to see where the project unfolds. So thank you so much, Christy. Thanks for being with me.
Of course.
Okay. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jessica.
Bye.
Bye.